called into the service of, or even the search for your higher power, your aspect of the god and goddess, or aspect of the god or goddess, can be a very long one, but you can rest assured that it's a very deep and emotional one, a very meaningful one, and never should be taken lightly by any means. So many people, whenever they enter into paganism, they look around and they see that everyone else has stabilized in this or that, or have their god system or whatever, and they long for theirs. And so too many people jump right in and proclaim a deity, and it should never be undertaken this way, not by any means whatsoever. I mean, some people take 20 years before they find the higher power aspect that calls to them in just the right way. Or it could be that they just don't hear the calling when the God system's talking to them, But it should be undertaken with a great deal of thought, much time, a lot of devotion, thorough research. And I know that sounds like a downer to a lot of people watching the show, but it's a fact. It's a reality. You don't want to proclaim a deity and then roll them out within a month. That's a degradation of the deity. It's not good whatsoever. A lot of us believe that your aspect of the God system, the one that's meant for you, will seek you out, will call you into their service, and you'll hear them when they come. And that's the way it should be. That's the way it was in the old days. You see, you don't only have to have one, in fact. Some people have a god and a goddess. Some people have one god or one goddess. Some people have many gods and goddesses. And it's okay. It's quite alright to have more than one. I, in fact, have 8. And a lot of people might say, how on earth can you become very personal with your deities, with there being so many aspects or facets to that? But that's what paganism is, isn't it? It is believing in more than one aspect of a deity. And in fact, if you wish, calling to more than one aspect of a deity, calling to more than one name of a god or goddess. And I'm 48 years old. I've had a lot of time. I've been in the service of the Lord and Lady since I was 18 years old, which is 30 years ago. And throughout my 30 years, I was lucky enough, I was blessed enough to have 8 God and Goddess aspects to seek me out, or me to find, and become one with them, and very close and very personal with each one. And 30 years, that's a lot of time, especially when you are devoted to what you do. And as a 3rd degree Wiccan high priestess, I've always been devoted. Otherwise, I wouldn't have put myself forward to devote my time to not only the God and Goddess, but to the people. And I've been very happy, very fortunate within my servitude. I've been very blessed to have all the friends that I have, to serve with, and to serve for, to be a part of, and all the teachers that I've had. you can't ask for any better when they were willing to put themselves forward willingly and lovingly in the way that I try to do for you guys. And that's why. I mean, I guess it's part of who I am in my raising, not only of my mother and father, but to the teachers and the God system that I've served. I've been blessed. So, it's my calling to bless those whom I cross. And I do my best to try to do that. Anyway, yes, 8 deities. And those are, and I'll tell you, the goddess Diana, and she was my first. When I began studying deeply on my path, because I had goals, I had ambitions, but when I began studying on my path, and I crossed her, I knew that she would be the one for me as a goddess that I could serve, because she stood for everything that I believed in. She had the masculine aspect of a hunter and the beauty of a goddess, the nurturing of one that so loved deeply. And I didn't choose her right away, although I knew that she would be the goddess that I would serve. I at that time felt that she would be the goddess that I would serve, because she was of such beauty and peace and so versatile in everything, worshipped throughout the world in at least 5 countries in the oldest days, more now. And she had the different phases of life: the mother, the maiden, and the crone. Or should I say the maiden, mother, and the crone, if I were to put them in the proper order. Her youngest aspect, her medium age aspect, and her oldest aspect, and, being a triple moon goddess, she was beautiful in my eyes, is beautiful in my eyes, by the way. And, I heard of her in the very beginning, along with many, many other deities on a long list that I had found or compiled in a couple of different books, read over many different deities, and always came back to her. But I put that aside for a while, and I continued on my studies. And as I went on further and went into my dedication, I dedicated myself into Wicca first, the craft, and not to any particular deity, but to the God system in general on an eclectic level, and was very glad at that choice at that point. My mind was everywhere. I was bipolar, wanting to learn everything, and when you're young, you shouldn't have so many ties right off the gate, that bind. And so I didn't choose at that point, but went on through, and for several years, and finally came up on my initiation when I had entered into another group and served, with them for 3 years. I was finally initiated, and I took the goddess Diana unto myself, as I felt that she was the one for me, and years of my devoted thought toward her proved that. When something's so strong in you, then you have to listen. And I saw one that I could truly serve under for the rest of my life, or lives. Anyway, likewise, I felt that, through my delving in past lives and so forth, I felt that I had served under her before, and hence my joke about past lives. I feel that she was my deity in lives past. And so I continued serving under her. Okay. And then there was Cornunas. Well, I didn't draw to him particularly at first because I had come up from 18 years of studying within Christianity, and the last 5 years about studying to be a minister in the non-denominational church. So whenever I had come into paganism, I was actually scared of the horned hunter. Everybody had made a big fuss about, how he looked like the devil and this, that, and the other. And so I can understand where a lot of mundanes who are searching their path out, or new pagans who are afraid, I can understand where they come from. But I was actually afraid of Cornunas for my beginning. And so for a long time I didn't have a male deity. But as I learned and I studied and talked to many, many other people, and as a matter of fact, I kept hearing his name everywhere, all around me. And as a matter of fact, in the beginning, I never did. But then I was on a search for looking for my masculine aspect to my God system. And while I was searching on my path for that, then I started hearing his name everywhere. And I began to study and read on it. And I found that his horns were nothing but a mere symbol of the deer, of bison, of animals that you would hunt. And as a matter of fact, his feet were like that of a deer and so forth. And so I grew an understanding that he was not an evil God. All my fear was in vain. And I grew some backbone about it. But nonetheless, I kept hearing his name everywhere. And so, upon finding that he was the oldest aspect of a male god found engraved upon cave walls, and I believe the earliest backdated to 30,000 years, according to Raymond Buckland's complete book of Witchcraft, which was the first book, actually, I had started reading, and I ascribe to for my students today. But, finding out a lot of things in there to do with Cornunas, I drew to him as a god. I feel that Diana and Cornunas both called to me. Those two deities above all the others, they sought me out. How do I know this? Because I heard their names upon the lips of everyone around me. Not all the time, but at the time that I was searching for my God system. And then seeing them in dreams. On top of that, especially during the term that I was studying dream symbology, seeing them in my dreams. I started studying dream symbology at a very early age, 18, as soon as I started searching out my path in Wicca. Actually, I believe that might have been my gateway in finding it, to tell you the truth, out of my curiosity. But, later on, not in the beginning, but later on, at the time when Diana started calling to me, I started having dreams about her. and of Cernunnos likewise. Now, later on, I had been firewalking. Now, that doesn't actually mean walking on fire, but it means basically having a powwow, going and sitting around a campfire in the late night hours, and fire scrying, just staring into the fire. Actually, I didn't intend this at this point, but I got used to fire scrying, and I guess so naturally it came pretty easy, pretty natural for me to just kind of fall in and start scrying into the flames. And there, Isis and Osiris appeared to me. I saw them in full garb, all of the works and everything, and they were so gorgeous, you know. And then a story played out in my head of things I had read long before about Osiris and his protection of his people, his fierceness, his strength, and how he was killed at the hand of his cousins, and his body spread to the four corners of the earth. His beloved, Isis, pondering the world for ages, looking for all of his body parts so she could rejoin them together and perhaps bring him back. You know, all of this kind of flashed through my head all at one time while I was sitting there. And there was no stronger aspect of love deities in my mind than that right there. And then I couldn't shake it. You know, gradually they became a part of me in my everyday life. As Diana, I was calling on her for things to do with beauty and things to do with hunting as well as Cernunnos, you know. But I felt toward Isis and Osiris as love for her and war for him, you know, in the strongest aspects, you know. And what better way? I mean, you know, they were there, they answered, or I answered them, I don't know which, but together we fell into an understanding and love and respect for each other, especially me of them, and they became a part of me. I fell into a really bad place, and I had gotten kind of away from paganism for a while, you know. Even though I was in this group, I just kind of drew back for a while. They were all calling, trying to come by, trying to get in touch with me, but I wasn't trying to be a part of anyone at that time. But someone broke through, began talking to me. Their deities was the Green Man and Green Lady. And after that person got through talking to me and left, you know, I said, you know, why not? And I kind of fell into an emotional state, and I called to them for their help in healing me, healing my spirit, healing my physical body, and you know, helping me to restabilize in the bestest way. And I did. I mean, real quick. I felt almost an instantaneous power of stabilization, strength, and over the next several days, I felt the healing coming over me. And in my spirit, I started being happy again, and I was calling on them daily, you know. But by the time that this was through, I wasn't about to let that go. I wanted that to be a part with me, a part of me, you know, from then forward. And so they were, you know. And on down the road, there was Adonai, but he was brought to me by someone that I had gotten really close with, and began sharing my religion with on a very, very close basis. And then Manu came to me over time, a god of the marshes and of the seas, of creatures in the woods, great and small. Over time, these deities were to become as much a part of me as my own two hands. Diana for the hunting and effeminate, Cernunnos for the hunting and masculine, the green man and green lady for healing and nurturing, stability, and let's see, Isis and Osiris. Isis for love, Osiris for war and fierceness and strength. Let's see, Adonai for a balance of peace and war. And Manu for, simply helping me to find the darkest aspects of myself. Now, mind you, he's not a dark god whatsoever, but he does ring synonymous with different things to do with each and every one of us. And he is a deity that wants respect. If anyone calls on him for that dark or negative magic to hurt anyone or whatever, he'll surely come back on them in a heartbeat. But he helps you find the tree in the forest, if you know what I'm saying. That is one place within yourself that kind of drowns out by everything else if you let it. He shines a light on that. He's an eclectic spirit that you can call on for anything except for matters of dark or negative, and he will be there, and you will surely know that he's been there before it's through, and within just a few days. Like I said, he's a god of the marshes and of creatures great and small, but he's left little gifts, in my house the night after I've gone to sleep after casting. He's left me blessed gifts, and we take them in the most light-hearted fashions, whether it's frogs or maggots or something of that nature, but he definitely lets you know that he's there. The funny thing is I remember the first night that I've called on him, and it was for a friend. Her wish was granted within a week, by the way. But that night that I had, this few people with me call on him for this friend's need, we dispersed. After, we dispersed, I went to sleep, and I woke in the middle of the night with someone walking all around my bed. And I happened to have a friend of mine staying over, named Rodney, who was asleep about, 100 feet away. No, not quite 100 feet, but a good 50 feet away. And I thought it might have been him, and I was like, Rodney, are you there? And then I heard him call from in the back room where he was sleeping. And it freaked me out big time. But I heard heavy breathing and kind of a snorting all around me, and I could smell swamp real bad. And then I knew it was him. Although I'd never been visited by him before, I knew it was him. And I went on to sleep. And the next morning I woke up, and we had little gifts coming up out of the carpet fibers from nowhere. It was maggots. And it was all around where I was sleeping, and in sort of a weird pattern that tells you that it was just extremely odd. You know, and I mean, the place was clean. We always kept it spotless. But it was gifts, and we accepted them lightheartedly. But we did have to kind of clean them up and get them outside, you know. Anyway, so that was a really funny incident there, you know, and we're still thanking Manu for that. Finding your deity, it can transpire in so many different ways. You can gaze or scry for the spirits, you know, but make sure that you see them many times before you choose them. Or make sure they come to you many times before you choose them. If someone brings you a spirit, you know, brings a spirit with them and it appeals to you, search into it, find out what the spirit is really well before you call on the spirit, you know, and then make sure that there's some kind of connection. And usually this God system aspect will let you know, this entity, this being will tell you if that's right for you, that they're right for you. And you shouldn't choose until you know that for a fact. You cannot change your deities like you do your socks. It just doesn't work that way. It's not good, and I don't advise it. And you know, there's no big hurry. I mean, before you choose or have your deity, or before they choose you, you can call to the higher power. You can say, oh, Lord and Lady, or, oh, higher power, come down to me and be at one with me. Great Spirit in the sky, so proclaim the Native Americans. You know, there are so many different ways you could do this and still be heard, because they know that you need them. And by all means, realize that there are positive and negative aspects of the spirit world, of the deity system. You know, always better to check and find out what pantheon you're actually drawn to first. You know, your pantheon is where you choose from among to you know, to find your deity, you know, to find your god and goddess. So check out pantheons, read about many gods and goddesses, and then sit back after you've read all the information on them. I mean, and study it for a good couple of years. Sit back and scry into something and see who or what appears to you. See who comes to get you, to be at one with you, to make you part of them. That's the way it should work, you know. Draw out a list, find a list of many different gods and goddesses, and read them over backwards and forwards, and maybe narrow it down to the ones that you could actually feel drawn to. You know, make it about 20 before you're through narrowing it down. And then read over very thoroughly these deities for a couple of weeks. And then go fire scrying or go water scrying. TV screen scrying. That means TV with the TV actually off. and no candle flame right in the screen reflecting out at you. You don't want diversion, you know. But it makes a really good crystal ball, trust me. Candle scrying. Do these things and let that spirit come to you. Pay attention to your dreams at this particular time. This should be the final couple of weeks before you decide to make your choice, and it should be just before the day that you go through your initiation, if you intend to be initiated, and no one says that that has to happen. You know, I do feel that you would, to a large degree, a greater portion of the people want to go through their initiations, you know. But, you know, you should find your deity and study them, you know, real hard before you assign yourself under them, in whatever form or fashion you decide to do that. Nonetheless, I mean, it's a very important and very deep thing. So by no means take and choose right away. Go slow and go easy with it, you know. And do realize that by all means, the higher power, it's a great power of light and dark energy, of masculine and feminine energy. And it comes by many different names, faces, or whatever. If you read very deeply, you find Athena and Diana, and many others are all aspects of each other. You know, they are really different ways of being called to the same spirit. It is one higher power, and it comes by many different names or faces, depending on what you, the one who needs it, can feel comfortable with, to feel good about, to make your own, you know. And I guess that's only my belief in it. I mean, other people might believe that these individual aspects of the God system, or these higher power beings within the God system, are all separate. And, you know, everyone has their own belief, right? I feel that whatever it is you believe and whatever makes you happy is right. It becomes right if it's not already. But isn't it all right? I mean, in all reality, you know, religion is based on theology, theory of different people, ideas that come from near and far, all over the world. And, you know, there's nothing that's entirely right in it, and nothing that's entirely wrong. There is no religion that's entirely right, and there's no religion that's entirely wrong. But what's right for you is what you have to adhere to, what you have to make your own, to build it up. And don't be afraid to do that. Don't be afraid to not listen to what everybody else has to say. You know, because it's what you believe that is going to construct your religion. Anyway, everybody, this has been Lady Leeanna, and I hope you've enjoyed this edition of Wicca for today, and that you'll join us again for another lesson. Please rate, comment, and subscribe if you will. It helps the channel along. But by all means, if you have any questions, leave them in the discussion boards below, and I'll try to answer them as soon as I possibly can. You take care of yourself. Bye-bye, and Mary.